So I want to present to you the work that we've been doing on a national survey, or a global survey, of national programs for the prevention and management of PPH and preeclampsia. These are the results that I'm going to present are the 2012 results of the multi-country survey. We've undertaken this survey 2 years in a row. We first did it in 2011 and then again in 2012 in order to give us better data, qualitative and quantitative data on what's happening with maternal and newborn health programs around the world in different countries. We also do it in order to get slightly better quantitative and qualitative information so that we can make decisions about global issues and national issues that need further attention going forward. So the methodology of this work was to develop a questionnaire that this year we sent to 41 countries during the period of January to March 2012. The answers were developed and compiled at the national level, and it was based on group consensus, national meetings of the Safe Motherhood Committee or the Maternal Health Working Group, and then self-reporting from that group to us. So there was not external verification. The answers came from the field themselves. And the data collection was through a 44-item questionnaire, the use of scale-up maps, which you have seen in the hallways, in the corridors from each of the countries, and we sent out this questionnaire in English, French, and Spanish to different countries. So the 2012 questionnaire focused on 6 areas of preeclampsia and postpartum hemorrhage. Those are listed here in the blue box. This year we had the fortune of being able to work with colleagues from MSH and VSI to strengthen the questionnaire and the data collection process so we got more specific answers. So the 2011 questionnaire and the 2012 questionnaire are the same except for a couple questions, and therefore the results are comparable, just a little bit more precise. So we got responses from 37 countries, and all the responses from the countries were complete, so the questionnaire was complete and the scale-up maps were complete. And I'm very happy to say we got 7 additional countries this year versus last year's presentation. And there's 5 additional countries from Asia, so Cambodia, East Timor, Pakistan, Philippines, and Yemen. So I think Asia is flowering in this year's results. And there was only 1 country that participated last year that was not able to participate this year. So the way the results are presented is through 8 themes, and those are listed here. Unfortunately, because the organizers of this meeting only gave me 15 minutes, and I don't know who those organizers are, but I'm going to speak to them. They only gave me 15 minutes, and so I'm only going to present the results from the first 4 themes on availability of medicines, approval of essential medicines at the national level, specific information on active management, and Misoprostol. The other themes will be presented when the final report comes out at the end of next month. We're presenting the information you will see in several different ways. An overview graph will show the global status of the issue in 2012, and you'll see that various countries presented and their information across the spectrum. Then we will have certain things that we can compare between 2011 and 2012 and therefore be able to track changes by country. We did some qualitative review of certain answers, and some of that will be presented here, others will be presented in the final report. And then of course we will present the scale-up maps in the final report as well. So here's the results of the first theme. On the right side of the slide, you see the 5 questions, and those are about oxytocin availability, whether or not oxytocin is free of charge, if it's regularly available in the MOH store, Misoprostol availability, and whether or not Misoprostol is on the essential drug list. So those color codings down the right side the results are shown in the dichotomous chart with yes answers above the line and no answers below the line, and the 37 countries listed out along the bottom. So this gives you a global picture of the availability of uterotonics. So you can see in most of the answers for most of the countries were yes, oxytocin is available, it's in the medical store, it's free of cost to patients, and Misoprostol is available or on the EML. So the answers above the line are yes, and the answers below the line are no. So that gives you a global picture of the situation of uterotonics. We also did some specific comparisons. So at the top, you can see that from 2011, there were about 75% of countries said that oxytocin was regularly available about half the time. This computer is a little bit tricky because when I tested this presentation, the other pie chart was in the various colors, but now this pie chart had suddenly become all orange. So just, challenges for me. This is good. But if we look at it closely, we find that 89% of the countries said in 2012 that oxytocin was available either regularly or more than half the time. So that's been an improvement. So oxytocin availability is increasing from about 74% in 2011 to 89% in 2012. At the lower half of the slide is the availability of Misoprostol. And we see here that Misoprostol is much less readily available. Only about 25% of the countries said that Misoprostol was either available regularly or more than half the time. So the message is that oxytocin availability is increasing, but Misoprostol availability needs to be closely watched because it's not as available. This is another area that we were able to compare from 2011 to 2012. So on the left is data from 2011 representing 31 countries, and we saw that 62% of those 31 countries said that Misoprostol was on the essential medicines list. But in 2012, when we looked at 37 countries, it was 57%. So the message is that Misoprostol inclusion on the essential medicines list is not moving forward. It's lagging behind. We have the same percentage or less this year than we had last year. So the progress by countries, my apologies, you can't see this, but you'll get this presentation and also a briefer on this on your flash drive. And you can look at the individual countries and see whether or not that has been changed from 2011 to 2012. So the next theme is the availability and the approval of magnesium sulfate. Again, above the line are yes responses, below the dark line are no responses. And the survey questions looked at whether or not magnesium sulfate was available in facilities more than half the time, whether or not magnesium sulfate was free to, I can't fully read it. The second one, and the third one is whether or not magnesium sulfate was on the essential medicines list and approved for treatment of postpartum, of preeclampsia. And you can see all countries said yes to the question in green, whether magnesium sulfate was approved at national level as a first-line drug for preeclampsia. So this gives you a global picture of the availability and the approval of magnesium sulfate. Pretty good. And here's some comparison between 2011 and 2012. In 2011, about half the countries said that magnesium sulfate was available regularly. But again, sorry for the tricky colors, but the second slide, the 2012, should say that about 2/3 or 3/4 of the countries said that magnesium sulfate was regularly available. So the message here is from 2011 to 2012, we've had increasing availability of magnesium sulfate. And again, this is another way of presenting the information that we can look at. For example, if you look, I don't know if you can see, look at the box on the right side at the top. Those are the countries, 5 countries in the Asia region that we surveyed in 2011 and 2012. The first one is Afghanistan, the second one Bangladesh. So let's look at Bangladesh. In 2011, you see that the blue bar is on the left, meaning Bangladesh said that magnesium sulfate was not regularly available. But in 2012, that blue line is on the right, meaning that now magnesium sulfate has become more available. That's the same case for India and for Nepal. So you can see in 3 out of the 5 countries in the Asia region, we've had improvement in the availability of magnesium sulfate from 2011 to 2012. Finally, we looked at the next theme, medicines approved at the national level. And as I mentioned, all countries show that magnesium sulfate is available, but only about 3/4 of the countries show that diazepam is approved at the national level. We also asked some questions about the approval of antihypertensives. And you can see there's great variability in the approval of different antihypertensives for treatment of severe hypertension in preeclampsia. Few countries, 12 out of the 37, had labetalol approved, while more of the countries had hydralazine, nifedipine, and methyl-dopa. So here's theme 3, which is use of active management for the prevention of postpartum hemorrhage. Again, you see that most of the answers are in the yes category, above the line, meaning that most of these countries said that active management was approved at the national level, that it was in standards and guidelines, and that oxytocin was available. Theme number 4 is a very different story. This is about programs for the prevention of postpartum hemorrhage at home birth using misoprostol. You see a much different picture, with most of the countries saying there's only been some progress. There's only been a little bit of piloting or availability of drug or scale-up of the program. So this tells us that globally we need to focus on this theme, this issue of misoprostol programs for the prevention of postpartum hemorrhage. So what progress have we seen overall related to from 2011 to 2012? Well, there's some mixed progress. There's increased availability of oxytocin. In 2011, 74% of countries said it was available more than half the time. In 2012, 89%. That's good. Better availability of magnesium sulfate. In 2011, 48% of countries, and in 2012, 76% of countries said that magnesium sulfate was available. But really, in terms of misoprostol, a much more mixed picture. Remember that in mid-2011, WHO included misoprostol on the essential medicines list for the indication of postpartum hemorrhage. So we've had not much progress since that time, so that's an area where we need to focus as a global community. So in conclusion, some drugs are more available, some from 2011 to 2012, yet we still lack coverage data about how we're using these drugs. We still don't have good coverage data regarding the use of uterotonics in the 3rd stage or the use of magnesium sulfate for the treatment of severe preeclampsia. There's some variety in the approval of different antihypertensives, and none of the recommended antihypertensives are approved in all countries. There's a mixed picture about inclusion of misoprostol on the national EML, and there's been some movement in terms of misoprostol programs, but that's an area for global attention in the coming years. And overall, we can say that the postpartum hemorrhage programs in the 37 countries surveyed are more robust, further along than the preeclampsia programs. So thank you, and I hope that all of you will wait for the final report that we will be finalizing next month, and once it's available, it will be on the MCHIP website, and we will do our very best to get it out to all of you. Thank you.